Color that it was bringing some question marks around too, the Blue Bloods and what's going on with them. North Carolina, preseason #1, not ranked. Same record as last year, and it should be noted, Tar Heels have won 10 of their last 12. They're playing much better. Duke has endured a slew of injuries. They haven't had a lot of their main pieces on the floor together at the same time, so they haven't played as well. Seth outlined some of the issues from one of the crowd favorites here in Knoxville, Kentucky. There you go. See, that's all it took. And then Kansas also has been noted. It was Roy Williams' first season when he was rebuilding the entire infrastructure at Kansas since they've lost more than 3 in a row. They lost 8 in a row then. That's not going to happen to this Kansas team. What do you make of the Blue Bloods maybe not being as, I don't know if they were dominant last season. They just all made it to the Final Four at the end. You know?
Yeah, it's a question of dominance. I think over the years and the decades, we've been used to those 4 teams being dominant in college basketball. In the last couple of years, they haven't been dominant. Now, part of that is a year ago today, Kansas got its doors blown off in Allen Fieldhouse by Kentucky. And what happened? They kept going to practice every day. Kentucky gets beat in the first round of the tournament by St. Peter's, and Kansas wins the national championship. A year ago today, we were going, can North Carolina make the tournament? Right. Do you think they can make the tournament? And they went to the championship game. You know, there's a lot to be decided, but when you look at their rosters, count the lottery picks. There aren't as many as they've had in the past. Now, part of that is their individual recruiting, and part of it is the transfer portal, part of it is NIL, and everybody says they want the talent more spread out. It's more spread out now, and it's going to be more difficult, but they're still really good, and they're still factors, just not dominant factors like we've seen in the past. Yeah,
Jay, I totally agree. There are the Blue Bloods, and now there are some new bloods because of what you just said in terms of the transfer portal, NIL. The best players in college basketball are spread out through the landscape of college basketball today. But we get caught up in the Blue Bloods, There are other shades of colors that play pretty good basketball. And when you look at it, 133 unranked teams have beaten ranked teams this year. 133. So, how is it happening? Me personally, I think it's more difficult. There's more static around college basketball. More good teams are losing games. Houston loses to Temple. Why? Static. Parental pressure, peer pressure, social media, NIL. It's harder to keep your teams focused during the course of the season because there's so many different people pulling at these players. Here's the deal. All these teams and all these coaches need to focus on one thing, the finish line. That is, worry about your team today, get better, because at the end of the year, that's really when you're going to be judged.
No question about it. When I think of the Blue Bloods, I think of Duke and North Carolina specifically, and I think of those two teams. They've been banged up all year long. I mean, Duke's 3 freshmen have only been on the floor for 55 total minutes throughout the year, so it's difficult to really evaluate them. John Shire, I think, has done a terrific job in spite of all of that. North Carolina, with where Caleb Love is playing right now, playing under control, I think we're going to see a better version of North Carolina going forward. Jay, I absolutely agree with you. When I even think of Duke, North Carolina, I can only think of one guy that's a surefire lottery pick, and that's Kyle Filipowski. And so the number of elite players are no longer at the schools that we're accustomed to. Seth, to your point, they're spread all throughout the nation, and along with the transfers, it's really made the talent be dispersed all throughout the country, which I think has created a tremendous amount of parity.
And wouldn't you agree, Carolina's got the highest ceiling in the ACC? I mean, I still think they've got the chops to be a Final Four national championship contender. They're good enough for that, but they're starting to really guard people now. They haven't allowed 70 in, 6 or 7 games, so they're starting to play.
We'll find out just how good North Carolina can be on the road next week. College Game Day. Headed to Tobacco Road, Cameron Indoor Stadium. This is going to be different. The first Duke-Carolina game in the post-Mike Krzyzewski era. College Game Day, 11 a.m. Eastern from Cameron. That's coming up next week. We look forward to that as always.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.